That's the whole point. Is there's no rules
right.
to fandom. You know what I mean?
You can still like it.
They can think that, but they can't. They can't put me in that hole because I probably know more about the actual show and the production of the show than they do.
Right.
Star Wars and Star Trek aren't based on books. They're film and television series first and foremost. Kind of like how, the Harry Potter movies, those are based on books.
Well, I found that interesting that you mentioned that even specifically that you said just a second ago you said this that it'd be okay, you'd be okay with a Marvel fan only watching the movies, and yet
I don't think you have to be a diehard fan.
Right.
Like, I don't read all the Doctor Who books, and I still consider myself a diehard Who.
Yeah, well, you're definitely you're one of the only people I know that it gets into it as much as they do. But I'm sure there are people who are like,
oh yeah, no, there's a lot of people.
To them, you might be like a more casual fan, I guess. To them,
well, that's the whole point. Is there's no rules to fandom. You know what I mean?
You can still like it.
They can think that, but they can't. They can't put me in that hole because I probably know more about the actual show and the production of the show than they do.
Right.
Especially when there's such a divide between the original 26 seasons of Doctor Who, then the 16-year break, and then the last 10 seasons, that there are people that consider themselves diehard fans but won't watch the older show. And I understand it's older, it's budget, it's black and white, and then color, and it's a different era. I still couldn't tell them you're not a hardcore fan, because everybody's fandom's differently. We all do these things differently.
I mean,
like for instance, the Star Wars.
I think as long as you have like some emotional connection to it and it drives you don't. There's nothing that you should have to prove to somebody else that you're a fan enough or whatever. It's like your actual fandom should be about what it gives to you, not what other people are impressed by.
Well, like for instance, the Star Wars movie you would have wanted to see, probably not the one I would want to see. But to be honest with you, I don't care so much about what they've done since the original trilogy, because the original trilogy, I was a child when they came out. I saw them in the theater. I grew up with them. They set new standards of special effects that by the time Phantom Menace came along, that wasn't as special. They'll never, ever capture that feeling.
Never.
Ever. The original trilogy, and even the special editions. No. I like the special edition of Empire. I will not sit through the original theatrical edition of Empire. I'd rather watch the special edition. Bespin looks amazing. And everything he did in that was right. There are a lot of changes I would have left out of Return of the Jedi, but but nonetheless, like
what are you talking? Like the music that was the best part.
I'm actually, and I don't mind that Luke becomes the new Obi-Wan. That doesn't bother me. I'm kind of cool with that. I mean,
I think, and this is we don't need to get too much into it. This is just my personal assessment of it, and we're not going to get so emotional about it. But I think that in general, to me personally, I think it's that a lot of people who were upset about it, we simply wanted, because we what's the word? We identify with Luke Skywalker as like that is us, that person. I want to be Luke Skywalker, and so as a result, when we see this happen to Luke, we feel it happening to ourselves, and that's what I said. And so I mean I know that it's just a movie, it's just a movie, all that stuff. But for me, for and this is just my assessment. I don't know, but for what any of you guys out there. To us, that's something that I felt that deeply when I saw Luke die like that, etc. And I had to take a minute to process and figure out all the things. I mean, you and I saw this movie together, but the point was that I after my many months of assessment is that's what it is. It's just all of us realizing that we identify with Luke to such a degree that we wanted to be Luke, and for Luke to be treated in such a disrespectful way, we felt disrespected.
See, and I would not even use the words disrespectful whatsoever, because it's disrespectful to make prequels and sequels to this original trilogy. By the way, the prequels totally take away the mythology that was built up in the original films by now having to explain it all. So to me, that's in your terms, a betrayal. But at the same time,
Sure.
we wanted it, and I wanted it, and I enjoyed them. Even though there are still hardcore fans out there that hate the prequels. But for me, it's not a connection to any one particular character and their arc. I didn't grow up on a farm. I don't relate to Luke any more than I relate to Han. They're all relatable characters in that they're charming and adventurous, and But for me, it was my core identification with Star Wars is the overall mythological arc. And the fact that the prequel films and the sequel films still follow the mythological arc, that's why I like it, and I don't have a problem with it. I don't mind the fact that they've repeated themselves, because that's what Star Wars does. It's not Star Trek, where they do something different every time. Although they have met a few too many omnipotent beings and god machines, but it's the fact that I don't mind.
You're my god machine, Joe.
What does God need with a starship? Star Trek 5. Whew. It's just one of those things where it's kind of like watching the series chronologically by episode number, and you see the parallels that Obi-Wan doesn't do much in the first film. He barely even fights Vader, and then he becomes this Force guide, and seeing Luke kind of go that same route just kind of made sense to me, in the same way that, of course there'd be a new Empire, and of course there'd be another Death Star, and of course there'd be another Darth Vader, because there was before Darth Vader with Darth Maul, and there'll be, no matter how many trilogies they do further and further, they're always going to mimic what they've done before, because that's the style. And so it just made sense to me. Like, people complaining, well, Rey, the Force just came to her real quickly. Have you seen the original Star Wars films? How much training did Luke actually get? He's on Dagobah for like 2 days. He barely handles a lightsaber in A New Hope. For like during the hyperspace jump to Alderaan system, he does like 20 minutes of practicing, and then he hears Obi-Wan guiding him at the end, and he miraculously destroys through the really weak little opening, the one weakness of the massive Death Star, and then in the second film,
but that's a little thing, yeah. And so yeah. I mean, he's on Dagobah for a while, and he does like half the movie. He's on Dagobah doing that with him. The point that I think this is the problem that everybody had with here.
Well, Luke, let me finish.
No,
dude.
I wasn't
done. I was just explaining to you though the Dagobah thing. It's not like he's there for months and weeks, because it parallels Han's journey to Bespin. It's probably 2 days at best. He's at Bespin for like a day before Vader got here, before you did. Like, is Vader like gonna hang out on Bespin for like 2 weeks waiting for him? Like, no, it's a relatively short amount of time. And explain this too. Yoda dies.
Yeah, when you stack it up, I can't respond.
Well, do the same thing, dude. It's about getting it out there, and
but I can't respond to anything now.
Well, so. I can't even remember where I was going now.
So you're talking about Vader.
Well, it just seems like Rey's... I think the one thing that's pissing people off the most is that they have not stated that she is a Skywalker. So it doesn't make sense to a lot of people that she would have that Force power. We haven't seen the third movie yet, and I'm willing to bet she'll have a connection to the Skywalker lineage, because her parents being meaningless and all that was just... It just felt like that was bullshit. To be bullshit. To get her on his side, Kylo Ren. So I think it parallels. That's just the whole point for me, is I think it parallels, and that's why it didn't bother me, because I wasn't expecting it to blow my mind the way that those 3 movies did when I was a kid and then a teenager and a young adult. And
I don't think anybody else was expecting that either. Here's the thing. I'm gonna address the one thing that you mentioned before about the training, and the training is simply this: is that Luke barely could move a rock. He couldn't move his X-wing. He couldn't move anything. He could barely move a rock. After a full day or a couple of days or 3 days or however many days he was there with Yoda, right? Okay. Yeah. So he could still barely move rocks, okay? But by the end of The Last Jedi, Rey is moving boulders upon boulders upon boulders. She's moving, like, there are like literally 50 or 60 boulders that she's moving. That's the point that everybody has the problem with, and that she doesn't train at all with Luke. That's the problem that everybody sees, is that there's no training, but tons and tons of power. I mean, anyway, but that's what everybody's problem was.
And see, yeah, for some reason that just, I mean, it's Star Wars, so it's not based in science and actual, like, it's science fiction, but it's space opera, and space opera is not hard science. Space opera combines fantasy elements, so it's got that magical element of the Force.
But I think that most people felt this is just, once again, most people felt like it wasn't
people
earned.
That you follow.
It wasn't
not
earned.
People that I follow.
It wasn't earned. That's just what it was. It was not earned.
Well, I don't really know if Luke's was earned in that sense either, because he barely had any training, and it seems to me.
But you felt like it was earned. Didn't you feel like it was earned when you watched the movie?
I don't know what you mean by that.
Well,
felt like it was earned.
Meaning that, like,
they both went through trials.
Okay, but did you feel but you have some sort of what's the word? You have some sort of fulfillment at the end when he ends up fighting his father and gets knocked down and comes back and then saves his father from being the most evil son of a bitch in the galaxy, right? So you feel something there, and you're saying you felt the same sort of fulfillment with Rey?
Well, we haven't got to the end of her trilogy yet.
Okay, so
once we get to the end of her mythological arc, then I'll be able to answer that.
Okay, well, let me rephrase the question. I get it. Let me rephrase the question. Do you feel like at the end of Empire Strikes Back that you have the same fulfillment that you do at the end of The Last Jedi?
Well, no, because no movie's going to touch the Empire
Strikes Back. Of course. I rest my case. No, I'm kidding. But
well, I mean,
no, I know that hasn't anything to do with it.
The Skywalker lineage changed completely for me because of George Lucas and because of the prequel films. Because George Lucas stated, and this isn't a misquote, this isn't I'm making this shit up. Lucas stated that the story is about Anakin. The first 6 films are about Anakin.
That's what George ended up changing his mind on.
And so now it's changed my perspective of the original 3. If I watch the 3 by themselves, it's all about Luke and Han and Leia and that whole core. But when I watch it as the 6 films, or even the 8 plus the one-shots, it's more about Anakin to me. And that does change the dynamic. It takes Luke to save Anakin and somewhat redeem him, although the stuff he pulled killing all the Jedi and the kids, he can never be redeemed for that.
Thank you for mentioning that. I've said that so many times. I have said that so many times, and everybody always is saying, "Oh, he was redeemed." No, he slaughtered children.
He delivered the fatal blow to crush the Empire, right. But that doesn't redeem him for being a terrible father.
Yeah, he destroyed the Sith. However, he was still a child murderer.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that scene in Revenge of the Sith, which I think is the best film of the prequels.
Mine too.
Where he lights up the lightsaber and that kid's reaction, because Lucas scared the kid off camera to get that reaction, get him to jump. That gets me every time. Like, not Niagara Falls, but like, whoa, that's kind of brutal. I mean, and they didn't have to show more than that just to get the idea that he's really gonna slaughter these children.
Yeah.
And so, no, he never... I'm sorry, killing the Emperor doesn't redeem that, but without that backstory, and you just watch the 3 originals on their own merits...
You feel the redemption.
You feel the redemption.
You do.
You think it's different, you know, but then when you get that backstory, you're like, okay, that's changed.
You're like, he still killed kids.
Still a prick. Like, not just that, the Tusken Raiders.
Yeah.
When he's killing women and children, and that's even before he fully succumbs to the dark side.
So we're going to close this real quick, but just put your thoughts in the comments, and please let us know what you guys think. I mean, me and Joe are definitely at odds always with this on The Last Jedi, and
I think we can agree that the original 3 are the best.
We always do, and Joe always mentions this, and it's a great thing that he always does, because it's like he always wishes that they didn't make anything other than the original trilogy, which so many people would probably agree with.
Watch them,
but
they didn't. It was unnecessary, but this is what we got. This is what we wanted, and
anyway,
of course they're going to do the same thing over and over again. That's just what they do. But they're fun. They'll never be the originals.
They never. I know. Well, it's So anyway, thanks a lot for watching and listening, and this has been the Fanatics of Film.